Hello, everybody. One last video about this fourth essay in this class. I mentioned in the previous video that I'm grading, scoring. Ironic that I'm using the word grading here, considering the topic, but I'm scoring this last essay using a mastery grading system, and that is, are you mastering the skills that you need for courses beyond mine? And in my hands here, I'm holding the rubric that's also on this page. And I'd like you to look at the rubric. A lot of this is going to be really familiar to you by now. You've already worked with developing a thesis and learning how to use and find evidence to support your argument. And you've been practicing writing a strong introduction, practicing writing a strong conclusion. There are some things that maybe you're not so familiar with. You might want to review them in the television program about informal persuasion writing. For instance, I am going to score on your balance of using ethical, logical, and emotional appeal in this particular essay. In informal writing, you use a little bit more of ethical and even emotional appeal sometimes than you do in formal writing, which is mostly focused on logical. Now, you don't want to throw the logical appeals out completely when you're writing this essay, but you do want to have kind of a nice balance of logical, ethical, and emotional appeals, or also ethos, logos, and pathos if you happen to speak Greek. Also, assumptions. And some of you are going to go, what are assumptions again? We've covered this in the past, but to remind you, they are things that you and the readers agree with before you even start the essay. If you can start with something you have in common, it makes it much easier to persuade somebody. Like, we all care about the children of the world, and now I'm going to persuade you to raise taxes so we can help them. But if you start off without any assumptions and say, I'm going to persuade you that we should raise taxes, most people will go, don't have anything in common. Don't try to tell me I don't want to pay any more taxes. So you see how that works. You need to maybe come up with some sort of use of assumptions at the beginning of your essay in the introduction that pulls the reader in to agree with you, and then you start to persuade. Okay, that thesis is going to be important. um, Substance, if I make a 2-page writing assignment and I get a 1-page essay, there's not much substance there. um, if I get a 3-page essay but it's very, very clear that you're saying the same thing over and over again, or maybe you copied and pasted some of it in from artificial intelligence, I'll know. And my artificial intelligence detectors will know that this essay doesn't have much substance to it. So try to write a good substantive 2-page persuasive essay using this rubric as a guide for, are you mastering the skills that teachers in classes beyond mine are going to be looking for when you're writing essays for them, no matter what your academic major is? That's one of the main objectives of this assignment, is to prepare you to move on, because I won't be with you